Hello plant friends, my name is Victoria and today we're going to be going on a tour of all of my house plants. Some of them have been moved outside and I just want to show you how everybody's doing. So here we go. This is my plant corner. It has changed drastically. I had a lot more plants here and I've moved them and rearranged them. It's just beneficial to do that because it just makes everything feel so fresh and so new, and in spring that's really a great time to change things around. So right in this corner I have a recently pruned Begonia maculata on the left, and then on the right is the Begonia looking glass. And this is honestly, you'll notice a trend with a lot of my plants. I do enjoy silver plants, and I just think that they're so unique and so unusual, and I enjoy like very drastic veining. So anyways, so here is my Alocasia Red Secret. It's a giant. It is actually quite large, and it has another leaf. It has corms forming here. Let's see, there's one. I thought that this was a corm, and the more I look at it, the more I think it just might be like a leaf coming out. I've seen corms before, like this one down here. Like, I'm pretty sure that's a corm. This just looks like a leaf. And then the back sides are this beautiful dark color. And then let's look at what I've got it in. So that's the roots. So it has a wick and the roots are touching the water, but the soil's not touching the water, so you can try that out. Here's a new variety, or it's new to the market. It's the Scalprum Alocasia, and it will have these beautiful dark leaves. Here is a Philodendron Billianti, and if you look, I've got the cutest little leaf coming. Well, it's actually probably going to be its largest leaf. This has been a reliable grower. It's just not the fastest grower, and I purchased it as a seedling. This is my Queen Air plant. Here is my Silver Dragon Alocasia. Here's my Jacqueline. I grew this from a corm. The corm was literally $10. And this was when the Tandarusas were super expensive, and I was just so happy that someone was willing to sell that to me. So here's my variegated string of hearts, and here's my normal string of hearts. The blooms are really kind of odd looking. I have lots of little flowers. This is what one looks like. It's just starting to form. And then back here, it's going to be kind of hard to show you, but if you can see this here, this is a new Hoya, pepperoni Hoya. It looks really interesting. Here is my T-Rex terrarium. That's my Philodendron Brassel, in desperate need of a repot. It is literally taking over. It's huge. It's beautiful. Huge. Like, the whole thing is just covered this. It definitely has a front and a back. And it's just so pretty. So it stays right here because it's doing really well there. Onward to my African violets. I recently took out the tags, but you can still know what everything is. I know what they are without looking at the labels. That's Gillian. So they're labeled, they just don't have the plastic ones. Gillian and King's Ransom do look kind of similar though. I'm most proud of this one. This is Suncoast Lavender Silk. It was 2 leaves, so I'm most proud of it because it's grown the most. And it's perfectly flat, which is something that's kind of hard to do sometimes. And it's symmetrical. Like, it's my most symmetrical violet. Here is Picasso in full bloom. It's just so cute. There's one that's pretty much open. Here are some more. This is Ma's Arctic. It had pretty bad crown rot, so I removed it, and now I have what looks like 3 or maybe even 4 crowns. So I will pull those out and pick the largest one. Here is a beautiful violet, Louisiana Lullaby. And we have tons of blooms. Look how cute. Here are some propagations. Here's Powwow. It was from the Green Escape. I just wish that they had larger violets for the price. These are the only plants that I am really struggling with keeping alive, and I'm pretty sure they're going to die. On to the other side of the room. Here we have this very rare plant. It does move sometimes, and it needs a lot of food and water and attention. This is my most high need plant. Anyways, back to these. This was a plant that I got at a swap. Someone had a huge cactus collection and was just giving them away. I don't know if they were moving or just going through a new chapter of their life, but this is the one that I went for. Here are, get it in a better light. That's a pink. That's a teeny tiny pink. There's a third one in here somewhere. Oh, it's right here. So that's a pink. I've had really great luck with this one. I did not let it go dormant. And oh my gosh, look. Can you see that? Probably can't. We're gonna zoom in dramatically. Actually, that may not be the best idea. Look, it's a flower. Right there. Right? I'm not gonna touch it. There. Look how cute. I guess it's doing better than I thought it was. And then these are sundews. And surprisingly, I get a lot of direct sun in this light, in this window. This has been blooming for 4 months now. Don't ask me how. I don't know. It's just really happy here. I got some lithops. This one's splitting. I watered it and apparently it got a little bit too much water, so I guess I'll have to wait 6 months or something to water it again. This one bloomed for me, and this is what's left. I don't know if it was pollinated. I really don't think it was. So here is this gigantic enclosure. Gotta open it so you can see. I'm not gonna go through and tell you all their names because that would take a very long time, but pretty much there are many different Hoyas and Anthuriums, and I do have some string of hearts. I've got some Spanish moss, and I've got some begonias. So that's Magia, a teeny tiny sad little Darth Vaderina here, Darth Vaderina hybrid, mystery dock block hybrid, don't know what it is, a very beautiful. There are tons of people that sell dock block hybrids, and it's like dock block mixed with Magnificum. So that's what both of these are. That's a dock block Magnificum, and that one is too. And I don't know which dock block hybrid that they crossed it with. I have no idea. But if I were to guess, this one's one of the red, it looks like a red crystallinum when it has new leaves. This is Ficus benjamina. Air plant, air plant. Here's my Bread Mimosa. You really can't see her. She's right there. See? Yeah, so bird's nest fern. Look how gigantic. Beautiful. These mist twice a day. Let's show you what they look like. So that's what it's like. They spray 45 seconds. And these are my miniature orchids. They're really happy. So everything kind of like runs down. It's pretty cool. Here is my green spot Darth Vaderina. I just wanted to measure the humidity. I don't normally have that in there. I normally have it in here. But look how pretty it is. It's doing really well. Here's my monster Stromanthe Trio Star. And it's really happy. Here's my Raven ZZ. My Calathea Stella on the left. And my Platinum Peace Lily on the right. So that concludes my office. These are 3 different Calatheas in one large pot. And they're producing tons of happy sap. So every time I touch them, you can see my fingers get really sticky. It's just something that they do to get ants to protect them. Here's my Silver Queen begonia and a ton of other things. This is a really cool cocoon I found on a stick. This bloomed for 4 months and then I put it on this piece of driftwood. This has like a little bit of a tear down the seam of the leaf and it just looks like it's wilted. I've seen people use tape on the back to straighten it, but it's really just cosmetic. And there is a flower spike. You see it? Anyways. And there's a new leaf forming. And it's kind of in there, so you're not going to be able to see it, but it's growing a new leaf. This is a monster plant. Look at her. Absolutely covered with the little rabbit feet. It's very precious, and I don't think I'll repot it. I think I'll leave it like this. This is a Tenanthe, fishbone calathea, but it's more in the Tenanthe family. And if you struggle with calatheas, you may want to try getting one of these. They just are less demanding. This is a little bit of sunburn. I propagated this one a little too hard. There is Calathea White Fusion. A really cool rock. and some wild violets with some moss. This is my Setosa Gray Star. Here's a really cool flower forming. I googled it and I couldn't find any pictures, so I'll attach a photo. Hopefully it'll bloom while I'm editing. Here's a peperonia. Here is a Calathea Flame Star. It has these unique white and green leaves. And I use distilled water, and the fertilizers that I use do have a little bit of salt in them, so that's salt deposits. And this was one plant, and now it's got 3 different sections growing. This is Sophie Cecile. It's a cane begonia. This is my recently repotted peace lily. I completely redid this corner, and I'm gonna start on this side. This is my Maurice Amy. I just recently moved it here. It needs light to be pink. You can see some of the prior leaves were way more pink. See that? And now they're really more silver and green. Here's my Calathea orbifolia. It's got 2 nice new leaves. Does have a little bit of brown spots. Xanthoma lindini was grown from a corm, is getting quite large now. This was one of those, it was just a heart, but it had a node. So I have a Hoyacarii now. And it was not really watered very well, so the first leaves that it produced were really they were really kind of deformed. So it actually had 2 or 3 leaves once I had purchased it, and I'm trying to be more consistent with watering them now. This is my philodendron splendid, and it started getting really tall, so I propagated it, so it's 2 plants now. It has a little bit of bulb burn. The lights were just a little too strong. But yeah, that was the first full leaf that it produced for me. And I put some powders on here. Just look how pretty and velvety. This is my philodendron micans. I have all my velvet leaf babies together, and this one has done so well for me. And when they get to the top, I pretty much just put them in water, cut them, put them in water, and then put them back down in the bottom. And that's how I've been able to get this really nice kind of full look. This is my philodendron melanochrysum. This is the most perfect and large leaf that it's formed since I've had it. And well, I have lots of really, really pretty leaves. Like this one formed with me, but it's not large. And I've had some that are just like really perfect, but it seems like I have little bits of tearing. And that's not from a pet or anything. I guess it's from inconsistent humidity. I recently started using Super Thrive in addition to fertilizing at half strength, and that's when I had these leaves form. I used an organic fertilizer on everybody, and everybody really showed signs of liking that. This is my newest leaf. You can see really cute veining. Beautiful dark leaves. This one's pink, and that's just what they look like when you sunburn them. So yeah, that's the velvet family. They're all happy together. Next is this chocolate anthurium. I found at Lowe's for $12. And I have it in this really cool glass pot. The flowers are really pretty and shiny. Here's one of my amaryllis, and it's blooming. With these, you really need a ceramic pot that's really heavy, or just a pot that's heavy, because when they get the like really tall, sometimes they'll just fall over, especially if they're in those plastic pots. Like they'll have them for sale in plastic pots. This is a very remarkable begonia. It's called Pied Piper, and it was the only one like it at a mom and pop nursery. And ever since I brought it home, it's had flowers, and they're really cute. Here are some that are just now forming, and they kind of just like rain down. Like there's kind of just like flowers everywhere, and I really want to touch them to kind of like show you them, but every time I do, they kind of just like fall down. So it has a really cool like U-shape connection to the leaf. I've never seen a begonia with like leaves that are this color. Like they start off this like almost dark cherry red, and then they turn different shades of orange, and it's so cool. They look like, honestly, like fall leaves, and that's just the way they look. Some of them are green too, and I recently repotted this one because it was like growing out all over the pot. This is my angel wing begonia. Oh, and this is a Rex. This is one of the few Rex begonias I have. This is my dragon wing. Yeah, dragon wing begonia. And it always has flowers, but it's not at this level right now. But if you want a begonia, like whenever I put this outside, it has huge like cascading things of flowers. Like this one's really pretty for that. Here are a lot of my Hoyas. I've got the variegated Hoya carnosa, Australis Lisa, variegated Hoya wayetii, and this one is the Macrophylla outer variegated. So I have quite a few together, and I just put them together because I wanted to put them outside. And this one's really kind of cool because it grows these super long vines, and then it gets leaves. So you can't rush this one. You just have to be patient. This is both my lemon lime Maranta and also the red stripe. The lemon lime was a larger plant. I just put them together to make a fuller pot, and whenever they get like maybe one section longer, I cut them and then I put them in water and propagate them and just put them back in the soil. Like this one right here, I just propagated and put back into the soil. And then there's a wick in here, and then there's tons of roots. So the wick touches the water, the soil doesn't. If you notice, this pot is perfect for it because this bottom part right here, like right here, I fill the water to here, and then pretty much that's where the wick touches, so it's constantly moist without being soppy and wet. This has been blooming for a really long time at this point, and I don't mind. It didn't burst out in blooms. It has like 3 or 4 at a time. It also has some new growth, and it's really cool because I have enough of the clear pots where I'm trying my best to try to make the swap, but for whatever reason the clear pots are like super expensive. You can see some calluses forming there. It's just what happens when they get a little bit older. And these aren't These are epiphytic cacti. They don't like to be super thirsty. But yeah, I've had this one for 2 years, and every year it's like larger and larger blooms, more blooms. And I purchased it on clearance, so I didn't know what color the flowers were gonna be. And then here's a Dracaena. It's actually kind of tall. I just have it tucked away to add a little bit of texture. So yeah, that's this plant corner. This is my propagation room. It's recently had a little bit of a cleanup. Here are my leaf propagations. So you put them in the soil and then they'll create roots, and then from the base of the stem they're gonna have little tiny baby plants. So here's a baby leaf, several baby leaves, and there was another one that had a couple. Here's one. Here's a really good example. See, you got two there. And then when they get a little bit larger, I separate them and give them each their own pot. These are suckers from the repotting video. I removed them from the burgundy, and you pretty much just kind of set them on top of the soil, and then you have roots form. So you can see some there, right there at the tip of my thumb. You can also see some right there, right there. You could also put them in water, but because they have crowns, I put them on top of soil because the water can get in the crown and rot the plant from the inside out. Here are anthurium seedlings, vittifoliums. Here are the African violets I got from a recent trade. So I have all new varieties here. And they sent me plantlets. Like, they're so precious. They're not ready to be in their own pot yet, but they're getting there. So you can put them in soil and propagate them, or you can put them in water. And I just thought it would be a lot cooler to have it both ways, simply so you can see what's going on, because under the soil you can't see. So whenever you're putting them in the soil, first they're going to grow roots, and then they're going to have these cute little bunny ear things, and each set is a plant, but it's just kind of cool to see them. This is an earlier stage. There are no roots and there are no plantlets forming. Here's one. You can see the roots, and you can see these green dots are baby plantlets. And then the opacity of the glasses doesn't really matter. These were teeny tiny little ketchup and mayonnaise containers, and I love them so much. They're so perfect. And then some of these are previously candle holders. This was like from an antique store. This is where I got some honey. And I empty out the water in these and replace it, just so that way it looks cleaner. You could leave the water or not. Honestly, I haven't really experienced a preference other than it just looks cleaner. Here is my Hoya linearis. So this right here is actually a new growth. Right there. And then also right here, these two little tiny growths there. It's been quite a couple of months. Hoyas take a little while to grow roots, but when they do, they kind of just take off. And I found that once these start putting out, like the baby plants start putting out leaves, then they take off. Like once they get a couple, like just enough to form a rosette, they kind of just like take off. So, and then here's King's Ransom. I might end up moving these to like another jar. I just didn't have one large enough. And then I've been adding and creating tags as I go along, so that way it's easy for me to label them correctly. So this is my propagation room.